Hey, Eric.
There he is.
What's up, guys? How's everybody?
Hey, Coach.
How we doing?
Good. What's going on?
Yeah, same old. Stuck inside.
Everybody, man.
Hey, that's okay.
Yep.
They put me on quarantine over here, man.
Yeah.
They have what, 14-day quarantine?
14 days, yeah, but I gotta get back to Texas on Tuesday.
Bless you.
Bless you.
That was intense.
Coronavirus.
Yeah. Good thing it's not contagious through Zoom.
No, they gave me I'm flying back on Tuesday, and they didn't know what to do. They called me this morning and they said, well, you can't travel. I says, well, I mean, if I'm staying at a hotel for 14 days, are you gonna pay for that? They're like, no. I said, well, okay, well then that means I'm allowed to fly back.
Yeah. See ya.
So I'm flying back on Tuesday. Oh, okay, yeah, I'm pretty sure there's not gonna be any problem. So
yeah. Okay. So we still have a few more minutes, guys, and for the hitters or the people just joining in with us, we're gonna get going here probably a couple minutes after the 5 o'clock hour here Pacific time. I know there's some guys like Carlos is in Hawaii right now, so he's a little behind, and we've had some guys in from Texas and Florida over the last couple weeks. So just bear with us for a few minutes here. Listen to Carlos's story about how he has to go through quarantine.
No kidding. I got to deal with I got in last night and I couldn't sleep because I got a freaking gecko in my room, and I'm scared of it.
A gecko?
Yeah.
All right.
So I got to figure out how to get it out.
Oh wow. Unbelievable. All right. JB's on. Is that Baruman? JB. For those of you guys don't know John Baruman, he's just a web gem of a person. Top 10, not top 5. Who else is in here? So guys, I'm going to go ahead and start muting you all. So if you have any questions, again, go ahead and throughout the workshop, feel free to type it into the chat bar. Should be on your bottom right hand side. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and so that you're not thinking you guys are disruptive or anything, but you never know. There could be some background noise or that could. What do I just mute everybody? Unmute all. Mute all. A new participant. I'm just gonna mute you all. Mute. Okay. Let's see here. I feel like Zoom is like a really good. Like I didn't even know what Zoom was. I just got off a podcast with Tom Batista.
Uh-huh.
And we were talking about Zoom, and he's like, "Shoot, I wish I put money in the Zoom in the stock market." I was like, "Dude, I didn't even know what Zoom was. Like, I didn't realize it's even. I mean, it's a great tool."
Without a doubt, they say there's some questions about some security issues. I told you I was at a one of those catching
webinar
or whatever they call it, and Tanner Swanson was holding it, and right on the first.
Is he a one knee down guy with runners on base?
Is he a knee down guy, or is he?
Well, right on the first minute, somebody hacked into it, and there was porno on it. Did you hear about that?
Porn. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if they thought it was me, but I got cut off, and they took me out of the room, and I couldn't get back into it.
They knew you weren't a one knee down.
Well, Jolly sent me a text, and he goes, "Hey, where did you go?" I says, "I don't know. I can't get back into the Zoom, the chat room." And he started laughing. I said, "I think they thought it was you." Then Tanner sent me a text saying, "Man, Carlos, I'm sorry. I as soon as you got in, somebody else freaking hacked it, and and I started showing. It actually showed, some porn scenes on the and there was about 120 coaches on it, by the way.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get started here, guys. We have just about 14 or 15 attendees, and they may pour in a little bit more. Guys from Kelson Johnson, welcome back. He lives in Tampa. He lives in Tampa. Looks like we have a guy from Hawaii. So we're literally coast to coast right now. So that's cool. And then obviously Carlos for the participants, the players, the hitters out there, right? Just kind of to introduce the panel today. I'm Joe Spears, so welcome. And then we have Coach Carlos Ramirez, who's an assistant at Hawaii Pacific University. That's where he's at right now. He's in Honolulu, or just outside of Honolulu. But he also directs the CBA Texas program, which I'm not even sure if I was allowed to say that, but does. I don't know what the rules are on D2. So, and then we have Coach Erich Pfohl, who's a head coach at Hope International University here in Orange County, California. All going to chime in at some point and give their feedback on this. And what we've aimed to try to do with this workshop is, one, like obviously everybody's at home and there's not a whole lot of resources, or you're much more limited in the access to resources you have. So this is just to kind of find ways to give back to the game, but also for you to get some type of information so that you can, kind of fine tune your craft the best you can at home. If all you have is a tee or a bow net, or even if, you don't even really have anybody to feed to you, at least you can get some information and start to learn a little bit more. I like to call it purpose-driven work when you're getting your swings in. We do have, a guest today who's going to lead us in the workshops over the next several weeks. And it's Coach Brian Billings from up in, I keep want to say Beaverton, but it's not Beaverton. Forest Grove, Oregon. All right. Just a lot of good, a lot of good coaches here that, that are really essentially volunteering their time to be able to provide this information and to reinforce each other so that the message that's sent across is loud and clear. I know we have, some of our guys from the El Paso area here as well. So it's really cool to kind of unite everybody within our program and get underneath the same umbrella to learn some cool stuff. So Brian, thanks for coming and joining us. And, if you want to go into a quick intro on who you are, what
Brian.
Shut up. And how do I pin Brian to so that,
I think
on the right top corner, you can see there's speaker view.
Okay. Do I just hit pin video or spotlight video?
No, you just pin video, and then you just it gives you Brian on top, and then you can just.
I think spotlight video.
I think it's pin video because there you are.
Yeah, pin video. Yeah. You gotta click pin video.
Hey, Brian.
How's everybody? This is great to be on. Obviously, I miss baseball like crazy, and like all of you guys, just looking forward to talking a little bit of hitting. And thanks a lot to Joe and CBA for putting this together. Looking forward to learning from some of you guys as well, and just kind of talking hitting over the next 5 weeks. So I'm fired up about it. So thanks a lot, Joe.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I really appreciate you. You're much more than willing to. I just took a screenshot of you drinking a cup of water. But when I asked you about this, you were super, like, you weren't even just like, yeah, I'll do it. Like, you were like excited to do this. So being able to work with you has been, a breath of fresh air, especially having to deal with Carlos all these years. But, I really appreciate you and how much you're dedicated to the game and giving back to guys and to, and your help with our program over the last several years. So thanks a lot, man. Thanks for making the time.
Somebody's getting some text.
Yeah, I don't know how to turn that off. It's me.
That's you?
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. Okay.
All right. Well, you ready to roll here?
Yeah, ready when you are.
All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen here with everybody. Put together a little PowerPoint here, and this is kind of what I was hoping to cover today. And again, if anybody wants to speak up and talk about it, a certain question or a certain take it a different direction, then by all means, let's do it. But I think in order to talk about mechanics and, using data and programming, we got to kind of lay a foundation first. So that was kind of the plan for today. So today I want to talk about some expectations that we have of our hitters, and I think, any good hitting coach might have of his hitters. Talk a little bit about culture and how important that is for an offense. Talk about mentality. I think mentality is huge with hitters. Obviously timing, and then vision, and then controlling the zone. So kind of an overview of what I want to talk about today. Just jumping right into it. There we go. So just expectations that I have of my hitters at Pacific is we want all of our hitters to have a growth mindset. What is that? Basically, a growth mindset is the idea that your skill, your talent can be improved through hard work and dedication. And it's the opposite of that would be a fixed mindset. So if you have a fixed mindset, it just basically means that you don't believe that, any kind of hard work is going to allow you to grow and improve. So we really, first and foremost, want our athletes to have a growth mindset. Work ethic wise, we just want our guys to show up with the idea that they're going to get a little bit better every day. And if you have that mindset and that work ethic, that'll carry you a long way. So those are kind of two of our main expectations that we have of our hitters. Don't back down. You can't be scared in the box. No matter how hard the guy is throwing, no matter how intimidating the situation might be, you can't be timid. You got to get in there and you got to battle. So those are a couple expectations that we have. Entitlement, we don't, at the college level, we can't stand it when kids feel like they're entitled to ABs. We want kids that are going to come in and put in the work and earn it. We're not going to hand out at bats. You got to come in and you got to prove that you deserve those at bats. Communication is super important between the hitting coach and the player. Personally, I'm also the head coach, so that's the challenge that I have with my team is communicating with them about their swing and about their development. But sometimes there can be that barrier there because I am the head coach. So really try to build relationships with my guys, and I just think communication is a real important piece of it. And then the last piece is, I really want our hitters to own it in the sense of that it's their swing, it's their at bats, and it's their career. I think throughout your travels as a baseball player, so to speak, you're going to come across a lot of different coaches with different philosophies that might, they might teach a certain way or a certain approach or a certain mechanic. And you're going to get a lot of different information from different people and different sources. So you've got to be able to filter all that information and decide what you're going to use for yourself and for your own development as a hitter. So, so those are some of the main expectations that we have for our hitters. Coaches, do you guys have anything to add to those? Or do you want to elaborate on any of those points?
No, we're good, Brian. I'm good over here on this end. That's actually really, really interesting. And one of the, the growth mindset, is something that we preach, and I guess it comes with coaches that are a little bit more, have a little bit more experience, right? We've been there, done that, and by no means I'm telling you that I'm older than you, but I think the growth mindset, it requires a lot of experience with the coaching as well, Very, very key, important, topic there, and you did a great job. I totally agree with that.
Right on. Yeah. If anybody out there is interested in reading about the growth mindset, there's a great book called Mindset. The title of the book is Mindset, and it was written by Carol Dweck, who is a psychology professor at Stanford. One of the best books on mental conditioning out there. So I highly recommend that book if anybody wants to check that out.
Awesome, man. Yeah, Lucy. Sorry. Hold on 1 second. I shouldn't be playing with this stuff while we're doing this, huh?
I mean, for me as a high school coach, the problems or the challenges that we face is that we have guys go to hitting coaches, and we may have a different approach than their hitting coach, and it's our job to get them to kind of buy into the belief that we're trying to teach them, and to also apply what they're learning from their hitting coach. So this is a constant challenge for us as a high school unit. It's very difficult. But once they do buy in and you get them to believe in your system, in your culture, in your approach, then good stuff starts to happen. So that's the challenge that I face as a high school coach, is that a lot of these guys have private instructors, and they're telling them one thing and we're trying to tell them something different. Any advice on that?
I don't think that changes it at the level. We get it at our level. We got plenty of guys that go to private coaches and instructors, and I think it took me a long time to and this is nothing at you, Tim, but just for me to drop the ego and say, if that guy is what you believe is going to make you better, more prepared for us to go out and win baseball games and be competitive, then I want to know what he's doing, and I want to know how I can help you continue to be comfortable. I mean, ultimately, Brian hit on it with it's a battle. You've got to be in there prepared, and in order for that then you've got to be comfortable. And if that's what makes you comfortable, and you're going to have the opportunity to be more successful. So we kind of went the other way and really tried to embrace it and learn as much of what they were doing as we could. Not everybody. There's certainly some guys that are way out there with their teachings, but a lot of guys are along the same lines of what you're going to teach, what your assistant coaches are going to teach, maybe just different language, and being able to find the way to bridge that gap, I think, and making sure that the kids know that, we share, it's just it's simple cliche stuff, but it's like, no information that I give a player, or any coach for that matter gives a player, do they think it's going to make them worse? Sure. And so I think when you communicate that and convey that with your players, and, I think that they start to realize, man, it may not work for me, but he's not trying to hurt my career. He's not trying to make me less of a player. And so those failures in coaching that we all experience can be swallowed a little bit easier, to where maybe they do trust you for a little bit longer period of time. But that's kind of how we went about it with ours.
We've definitely taken that approach on, I would say, in the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of like you work with the actual player and the coach. I'm doing it right now with a pitching coach, actually, with 2 of my pitchers, and talking to him openly about what he's teaching them specifically and why. And so then I understand, why he's telling them to do that this way, or to throw that pitch at this time. And same goes for hitting,
Yeah, and it's tough because, like you're saying, part of the lesson structure, and we've all been a part of it, but it's in a cage, it's front toss where the ball travels 50 feet and it stops. It doesn't go any farther than that, and you really don't get a true feel as to what's going on. But you're getting good result, good swing, good job, constantly, but you don't get to see the in-game stuff. So I think just creating that line of communication and making sure that the players understand that the swing coach is one thing, the hitting coach is a different thing, the mental emotional coach is a variable that's not included in either of those, and making sure that they understand that everybody's got their best interest in mind. That's, I think it's a battle that we're going to continue to have for a long time, and we can kind of headbutt it or hug it.
Okay.
I like the hug.
Taking that information that you guys have brought to the table, and what just looking back to my playing experience, it's, you get caught up in between these different ideas, and you get caught in between, two coaches that sound like they're very knowledgeable in the game, and they have these concepts, especially the hitting, because it's such a delicate aspect of the game, in the sense, like, if you make any type of adjustment, you're going to get a completely different outcome than what you'd like sometimes. So it's really up to the players. It's up to you guys, the guys that are attending here. So the parents that are listening in, if you could relay this, if the kids aren't with you. But it's really up to you guys to kind of navigate through that the best you can, and just understand, like, your coaches have your best interest in mind when they're teaching you stuff. Whether they're your private instructor, your high school coach, or your travel ball coach, everybody has these philosophies. But just like Coach Erich said from Hope, a lot of times it's language. The terminology that coaches use could be a little bit different. Just understand that hitting is about feel and timing. And I know when Coach Brian got kicked off, he's putting his computer back up right now. He'll be back on here. He's going to touch on that a little bit. And so it's good to have our coaches on here too. And I know Coach Tony's in here as well. And Coach Baruman's in here as well. But, just to kind of get on the same page for our coaches, so we understand, exactly, what we want the outcome to be for guys. And it's so important for, like, the players just to understand that you are going to get conflicting ideologies and conflicting information from different coaches. And that's just going to be a part of the game for as long as you move up the ladder, literally all the way till you get to the big leagues. You're going to have different guys telling you different things. You're just going to have to filter through that stuff and figure out what really works for you. And what
that's part of the growth mindset too, Joe, right? I mean, like, being able to, like you just said, filter through it, dissect what works for you versus what works for the guy next to you. I mean, it doesn't mean one way's right or one way is wrong. I mean, I think you're spot on with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but I think Billings is back. He's still working with Windows 95, so it took him a second. Hey,
sorry about that.
So,
it's my son.
Yeah, we filled in the gap for you, man. I know you got to get like an antivirus software or something, but we took care.
Yeah. Let's see here.
Beautiful face.
Sorry, guys.
Clean it up over there.
Just take your time. We got all the time in the world.
Cricket Wi-Fi up in Oregon. Cricket wireless. But yeah, no, that's exactly right, Eric.
Man.
Being able to, if we could teach kids to have that growth mindset, because a lot of times they think like everything is black and white when it comes to the game of baseball, and parents too. Like it's not their fault; they don't know any better when it comes to this. But there's a lot of moving pieces when it comes to the game, and being able to fit in with culture or coaching that may be a little different than what they're used to. So he's back.
All right, we did it. Let's see here. So as far as what you can expect from me, or what you should expect from your hitting coach, I think is the same thing that we should expect from our athletes. But definitely, I'm going to be honest with my hitters. I think just being brutally honest with them is super important. You shouldn't sugarcoat anything as a coach. Positivity, though, I think hitting's hard, right? It's one of the hardest things to do in sports, and so there's going to be a ton of failure with that. And so I think from a coaching standpoint, as the head coach, or certainly as the hitting coach, you need to be empathetic and understand that they're going to go through some ups and downs, and mentally, and their confidence might not always be there. So I think as a good hitting coach, you have to understand that and have some patience with that. But I also believe in service. I think a good hitting coach is really going to get into the cage with the guys and do whatever they can to help the players develop. And one of the big things that I think in our program that might be a little different, maybe not though, but we'll talk more about this next week. But I really believe in setting an environment and designing an environment that's going to bring out that sweet spot, or that sweet, that kind of that sweet spot of motor learning, where it's just hard enough to where, they're having some failure, but it's not so hard to where they're failing, 90% of the time. So it's important that we, as hitting coaches, are good at designing a good learning environment for our hitters. We mentioned it already, but it's your career, your at bats. So I'm going to be help you along the way, and it's going to be a kind of a guided self-discovery, which is a powerful way to learn. So we want to put our hitters in an environment where they can kind of figure some stuff out on their own, in terms of based on what the drill is asking them to do. So and my goal is to make myself obsolete. I want my hitters to become their own coach. I definitely want them to be able to go into a game and in a high speed environment, be able to make their own adjustments. So these are some things that we try to do in our program to help our hitters be successful. And coaches, you guys got anything to add on this?
I'll just add, something, really quick on this, and good thing you talk about the cage, because I like to go to the cages and not only work, not just on reps, but also, we like to, have them compete, in the cages, of course, trying to achieve what we want to try to have them achieve, right? But in the meantime, we like to have them compete and have fun a little bit. That kind of builds a trust in in what the coaches are trying to teach as well. Competition.
Yeah.
Definitely. I was listening to a podcast today about skill development, and basically they define skill development as coming up with new movement solutions based on the environment. So with that in mind, there's a big piece of motor development or skill development is the environment that you put in front of your athletes, right? So like, for example, in our program, we show our guys different velocities, different movement patterns. We'll do a lot of stuff with two machines, where one machine is set up as a fastball and another one's a slider, and the hitter doesn't know what's coming out. So we're trying to put our hitters in an environment that's as close to the game as possible, to kind of get at that sweet spot of motor learning where they're gonna really grow and develop. So that's been really successful for us. Highly recommend hitting off velocity or mixed BP, anything, as much as you can. That's just something that's been really successful for us at Pacific. So cool. All right, moving on. We talked a little bit about culture, and I think culture wins, right? If you have a great culture, it's a big part of having a successful program or position group. But obviously you got to compete your butt off, and show up and really be ready to go every single day. I mentioned earlier, we want a really positive dugout. Hitting's really hard, so we want to have fun in the dugout. We use it's I think Buddhist, but mudita. And what mudita is, it's vicarious joy. So if one of my teammates hits a homer, even if I'm competing with that player for playing time, I'm going to celebrate his success. I'm going to be happy for him. And I think that we over me mentality is huge for a team and for an offense. I think I used to be a little bit more controlling of my players and kind of I would cookie cut them a little bit. I'd get pissed if they were chasing pitches out of the zone and it was a little bit more of a of a militant sort of situation, a little bit more of a dictatorship. And then as I've matured and grown a little bit more, I've definitely learned to have a little bit looser dugout and how much that helps. It's talking to some guys that have played at some high levels. They really like that loose dugout, and you really need to let the players play. And ever since a few years back when we kind of made that change, we've been having a lot more success. So I think a big part of it is really just having fun, and celebrating each other's successes, and whether it be like a handshake or a guy hits an extra base hit and he's got a little celebration on second base, or whatever it is, we want our guys to definitely have fun. A big piece of the culture for me is sharing your scars, or sharing your experiences. A lot of times you have an older player who's been there, done that, and for him to take a younger player under his wing and tell him, hey, you're going to see this, so maybe try to take this approach. And I just think it goes a long way to building that camaraderie on a team, and definitely helping some of those young guys feeling like they can help the team win. So each one teach one. That's kind of like that actually comes from back in the slavery days when education was deprived from the slaves. And so if a slave got a book and he read the book, then he would then teach it to some of his fellow slaves to kind of pass that knowledge on to some of his friends or family. So that idea of each one teach one, when you learn something, share it with the teammates so that the group can be collectively a little bit better. Definitely want to have a collaborative environment. I love our guys talking hitting. I used to have a hitting coach about 5 years ago who would get pissed off if he saw hitters working with each other on mechanics or whatever. He'd feel threatened, and he definitely let his ego get in the way. And I've really tried to create an environment at Pacific where all the hitters can talk openly about hitting to each other. You can look at Twitter, you can look at Instagram, you can look at all this great information out there. And again, own your swing, own your own, development. You don't have to take every little bit of piece of, hitting advice that you get off of Twitter and then apply it to your own game. You need to have a certain amount of filter there. But I personally don't shy away from allowing that freedom for our players to like talk hitting. So I don't know if you guys feel the same way on that, but that's just how I like to run things. Yeah.
No, I think dialogue back and forth between the hitters, especially, recently I've been working with hitters in a more one-on-one setting just because, we can't really get into groups, but
Yep.
I have those guys that don't say a whole lot. So you kind of wonder what's going through their head, and the feedback I think is important, because then if the hitter has questions, and they keep it in, or something doesn't feel comfortable and they keep that in, then it's really hard. It's going to be really hard to quickly make the adjustments that need to be made, So, and we've talked about this in the past couple workshops, that, having that open dialogue and being able to effectively communicate back and forth between you and your coach is such a big deal for your own personal growth and development. So,
No doubt. And then there's obviously the accountability piece there. Holding yourself accountable and holding each other accountable is a big important piece there. So, so I mentioned, we talked a little bit about guided self-discovery. And our job as coaches is to kind of provide a map for the players, but at the end of the day is, you got to figure some of these things out on your own and figure out these movement solutions on your own in a high-speed environment. So we believe we're very data-driven at Pacific, so we follow the data, and the data never lies. So we kind of reverse engineer based on the data. So if we see, we work backwards from the data, and then we'll test our hitters, and then we'll assign programming, and then we'll retest our hitters, and then we'll assign programming, and then we'll retest them, and then we'll assign programming. And so we'll kind of get into some of the data. I think it's on the fourth session, but we use a lot of data. We use Rapsodo for our pitchers. We have a hitting Rapsodo to look at batted ball profile. We have blast motion sensors to look at what your body's doing during the swing. So we have a spin rate gun, which is really handy, that we use. One of the biggest things that we use for is to calibrate our machine, because you can set up a machine, and go by the factory settings, and it might be set to 85 miles an hour, but it might have a 3,200 spin rate, so that's not realistic. You're not going to see that in a game. So I'll use my spin rate stalker gun to calibrate the hack attack so that it's a little bit more realistic to what they might see on any given day. So designing a training environment, we talked about that a little bit already. We're trying to target the sweet spot of learning. Moving on, I'm a big believer in development coaching versus performance coaching. We're really focused on developing our athletes and just every day trying to get better. And with that, comes, the importance of work ethic. And this quote is from one of my assistant coaches. He always says, the prepared man is the confident man. So if our job as coaches is to build confidence in our players, then we need the work ethic on their end. And then we need to really just take it one day at a time and just really try to get better every single day. The other, I guess, three big pieces of development, which I'm not going to really talk about at all in these next sessions, but can't stress enough the importance of strength and mobility. You got to get stronger. You got to get in the weight room. You got to get physical. The more you can do that, the better. So we're not going to talk too much about strength and mobility in this today or in these 5 sessions, but extremely, extremely important. Anybody who's afraid to get in the weight room because they think they're going to get too muscle bound and lose flexibility, you're missing the boat. Okay, you need to get stronger. You need to get more physical, and you need to get in the weight room if you want to compete against 21 and 22-year-olds. So, you guys got anything to add on that?
Yeah, I do. There is. I mean, obviously, like flexibility and mobility is super important. But yeah, I mean, Coach Brian hit it right on the nose. Like guys are, if you're not paying attention to gaining strength and athleticism, right, then the game's going to come a little bit more challenging for you. And as you get stronger and as you start to move better and get a little quicker, the fundamentals become a whole lot easier. So just kind of keep that in mind as you continue on and as you play. So.
I kind of grouped vision in there with strength and mobility, and we'll talk a little bit about vision training. We do some vision training stuff at Pacific. We have an optometry school at Pacific, so we have access to strobe glasses and a vision board, and there's some other things that we do to try to improve our vision. But it's actually something that, you know, a lot of people think that their vision is what it is and it really can't be improved on, but there's a lot of things that you can do to improve your vision and to, you know, see the ball a little bit better. So every, you know, baseball is a game of, you know, inches, they say, but really it's probably smaller than that. And every little bit that you can, you know, get to help yourself out, you know, is worth it. So to me, like, working on your vision is definitely something worth doing. So we do, like I said, vision training. You know, we're fortunate to have one of the top optometry programs in the country, partner with our athletic programs to establish protocols for our athletes. There's various things you can do: strobe glasses, vision board, vision charts. We also, our players supplement a nutrient called zeaxanthin and lutein, and I actually saw it at Costco. You can get it at Costco now. So if you want to like pick some of this up, it's really good for visual acuity. So, you know, check it out. It's awesome stuff. One of our optometry professors at Pacific actually works directly with Major League Baseball and with the Red Sox. And he said that this supplement, this nutrient, you're gonna find it in every Major League clubhouse and every minor league clubhouse in the next, you know, couple years. So something to kind of look at. Some other things that we'll do vision training wise, just you know, you can see the guy upper left has vision, you know, he's got the
Strobe goggles.
Strobe glasses, doing some wall ball down there, bottom left. On the right, you got somebody in there hitting and another guy behind him with strobe glasses on, just trying to see the ball. So just some things that we'll do. We want to try to keep hitting really simple. You know, you want to be on time, you want to be on plane, you want to see the baseball, you want to be balanced. So simple ideas, simple thoughts. We try to keep our guys focused externally. So we don't want them focused on what their body's doing mechanically. We want them focused on an external target. So whether that be, you know, hit the ball over the right fielder's head, or hit the ball over the center field fence, or, you know, hit the ball through the 4-hole, whatever it is, we want our guys focused externally and not so much focused on what their body's doing. There's a lot of studies out there about just the importance of keeping your focus on, you know, something external and not getting too internal with your cues. So it says there, avoid cue salad. You know, we've all had those coaches that just give you one cue after another cue after another cue after another, and it's just hard to really like focus in on one, you know. So and get any better, because you're working on 5-6 different things at a time, and it's just confusing. So I think it's important to you know, understand that that's going to happen no matter what level you're at. You're going to get coaches that give you a little too much to think about at times, and it's important that you kind of own your own thoughts. And, you know, that's the great thing about being a human being, is you can choose what you think about. So if you're going to be intentional about focusing on a certain mechanic or a certain approach, that's great. If you're one of those, you know, guys that is going to just do whatever coach says and take all 5-6 different cues that he's trying to, you know, it can get a little overwhelming and a little confusing. So try to keep it one thing at a time. So coaches, you got anything on that to add?
Yeah, go ahead, Carlos.
No. Go ahead, Joe. I was gonna read that question that I just saw on the chat. But you can go ahead and do that.
I don't know where to find it. I just saw that I clicked on the bottom, and then
I got it.
Okay,
hey, real quick before Brian, that video that you got playing, I don't know how many guys noticed it, but it's pretty sweet and a little more in depth maybe than watching the guy hit. But you talked about preparation and all that. The guy in the background, you know, and I know, Joe, we had that dialogue a couple weeks ago. about paying attention. And, but again, I think last opportunity to get in the box right there is on deck. And that guy on deck is at the same timing rhythm as the guy in the box. And that's, I think something that's really missed on. Guys want to put their pine tar on and then on deck circle and make sure they get their 3 Evo shields on. And they're really missing valuable opportunity to work on timing, which is probably the thing that makes people stop playing baseball quickest is lack of timing. And there's a great opportunity and show that, guys getting paid hundreds of millions of dollars still do it. So
no doubt. I mean, I think the guys, once you step on the circle, you gotta be locked in, regardless. You have to look at the, see that pitcher, get the timing right, not asking for Gatorades or anything like that. Mom, bring me a Gatorade or whatever. It's time to go. That's a time that you're going to have the first glimpse at that pitcher before you step in the box.
Definitely. Joe, was there a question?
There's a question there. I don't know how to switch from the panelists to the attendees, but
I got it, Joe, if you want me to read it.
Yeah, go ahead, Erich.
The question is, what is the most important thing that players can focus on while at home?
Who's that from?
That's from Matthew Pfohl.
Pfohl.
Oh, okay, now I found it. All right. And yeah, he's a Hawaii boy, Carlos.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Matthew.
All right. So
that's a good question. I think it depends on the hitter, right? I mean, I think it completely is dependent on what you need to work at personally. I think that question is something that I think we probably can answer a little bit more when we get into some of the mechanical stuff. Don't you, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, in the meantime, I would just say, if these guys are and these guys should all be blast motion users, so you take your swings there, right, and the drills are that pop up in the app, they are applicable to the data that's generated from your swings that you take, so it like Coach Billings says, it varies amongst everybody, but timing is a big deal. That's always something you gotta maintain. Rhythm and timing. You can do simple things like just picking a spot in the net, and then trying to repeat, hitting that spot in the net with the ball. Just little things like that, just to try to kind of give yourself some intent. Pay attention to where you put the ball on the tee. You don't want to put it too far out front. You don't want to put it too far behind you. You want to put it right in the spot where you're in an athletic position and a strong position to hit. Just to be very general with it. But it does depend from hitter to hitter. But I think those are good places to start.
Constant of the eyes too. I know Brian mentioned the visual stuff. The visual stuff is second to none, man. We do the same, Brian. We hired Ryan Harrison to slow the game down. They come up and work with our players all the time. And we found a kid that had astigmatism that he had no idea ended up needed contacts. Awesome. being able to work on your vision. And now, with a lot of free time, that's not something a lot of people or programs are going to be doing during practice. So when you don't have practice, that's a great thing to be doing currently.
Definitely. Actually, if you look at this, let's see. This and this is a really small picture of it, but you can find these charts online, and really what it is it's a near far chart. So this chart is shrunk. It shouldn't be shrunk down, but you put this on the wall, and then you stand. Like if you're a right-handed hitter, you have one chart here, and you go back and forth from like upper left letter on the far chart on the wall, the upper left on the one that you're holding that's on a little thumb depressor, and going back and forth and having your gaze go from near to far simulates tracking a ball into the hitting zone, right? So and you can improve your vision and your ability to track that baseball in, and you don't even have to be hitting. So those charts down at the bottom there, you can find those online. Just look up vision charts. Whoops.
We'll scroll left.
There we go.
Hey, I got a question. Bills, you said that you use a blast motion sensor, and since the majority of the kids here they use blast as well.
Yep.
We use blast over here at a HPU as well as a Rhapsody. But what specifics do you would you like to tell the the kids what to concentrate on when they're using the sensor?
Well, we're gonna get into that at a later session. I'm happy to talk about it right now if you want to, though. We at Pacific we look at bat speed, we look at attack angle, we look at rotational acceleration, we look at early connection and connection at impact. So, and then I think the other one is time to contact, but that one's pretty doesn't give you a ton of information. But I think the biggest thing is understand your ranges that are important for you to be in, right? I mean, for example, attack angle, you should be somewhere between +6 to +10 degrees in terms of your average attack angle. So, but it's an average, right? So you're going to have some way. I don't know. Are your players paying for the cloud, Joe, for the blast cloud where it grabs all that data and saves it for them?
Yeah, it saves their data so they're able to track it.
Okay.
A lot of guys have opted into receiving, monthly swing reports. So
Cool.
those
That's
reports,
awesome.
they're charts that show where their ranges are and where they need to be at.
That's awesome.
And
yeah, we do the low budget way. We do it all manually. We enter all the data after each swing and do a little spreadsheet, and then we put it onto track. But
the reason I brought it up was because since we already have that question that what is the most important thing that we think is to work at home. Those guys that have the sensors, they can at least look at something that they're interested on. Every hitter is different, but just like you said, whether they're looking to improve, their exit velo or swing path or time, hand cast, all that stuff that are measurements that the blast sensor shows, will be great, to jump into that. I think that'll be great.
Well, I think the biggest one is to look out with the blast is attack angle. I think the attack angle is the angle at your bat at contact. So if you're swinging down to the ball at contact, it's going to be a negative. If you're swinging up, it's going to be a positive. So obviously you want your swing to be at a slight upward trajectory because that matches the plane of the baseball as it comes in. So I think attack angle is probably the thing to look closest at. We look at all the other ones though, specifically early connection and connection at impact. So those are two of the ones, and bat speed. Those are probably the top 4 that we look at. Time to contact and rotational acceleration it's good to know, but the main 4 for us are average attack angle, average bat speed, and then early connection and connection at impact. So what about you, Eric? Do you guys use blast?
No, we're lower budget than yours, so I've seen enough of it and enjoy it, and I think it's phenomenal stuff, and these kids are lucky to have it. So I think you guys take that and handle it.
Right on.
I think that might explain a little bit on the question that Matthew Pfohl had. Something to look at. Again, every hitter is a little bit different. So whether you're working on your attack angle or whether you're working on your whatever it is, whatever swing path, all that stuff. But
Sure.
I think that'll help them. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving on to mental toughness, obviously very important thing for hitters to have. We talked about competing your butt off. I think to be a great hitter, you have to be a little obsessed with your swing. Not to a point where it can be detriment to your development, but I think you do need to be a little obsessed with it and just kind of always be looking to improve it, and definitely have a little bit of a chip on your shoulder and something to prove. And then I think the mental skills and developing that mental toughness can really help you manage the outcomes, whether they be good outcomes or bad outcomes. It helps you kind of work through some of that stuff. But I really like this idea. It's kind of, I got it from Augie Garrido, but he used to talk about how you should absolutely hate to lose, but then understand that losing is a big part of learning, and it's a necessary aspect of the learning process. So you need to be really uber competitive and just hate to lose more than you love to win. But then also understand that it's a part of the learning process. So
yeah.
Moving on, obviously you got to have fun. Baseball's a game. It's really hard. Compete your butt off. Have a routine. You need to breathe and focus on your breath and visualize success. And then focus on stay within your scope of control. You have control over your effort, your attitude, and your response. So take control over those things. And that, I like, this is a lot of this is Steve Springer stuff, but stats are the past, right? Don't dwell on your stats. Don't dwell on your batting average. It's a trap. Nobody cares about what your batting average is. So we want to develop hitters that want that fifth at bat when they're 0 for 4, and just to focus on one thing, and that's just to help your team win. Stat chasers are not winners. Nobody likes playing with, and we've all played with a guy like that who, you might lose a close ball game, but he's happy because he got his average over 300. Nobody likes playing with guys like that. So keep the focus on helping the team win, and don't worry too much about your stats. That'll all kind of take care of itself. So, you guys got anything to add on that?
Yeah. What was the last high school stat you looked at, Brian, when you were recruiting a kid?
I don't look at any of that.
Yeah. I think just reiterating, I think you're 100%. I had a kid tell us, he got drafted at, seen in a regional by the scouting director, hadn't been seen prior to that. And, ultimately, he came to the realization, he goes, teams that win a lot, those guys continue to play. And it's the same with high school kids moving to college. We go recruit from really good programs generally because those kids are coached well and they understand what it is to win. And not kids necessarily from bad programs that are good players always. It doesn't necessarily translate to good teams. So
absolutely. Right on. So Ted Williams said in his book, hitting is the hardest thing to do in sports. So we've kind of talked about it already, but and I heard this from podcast just the other day, but I think if you expect the expected, in other words, if you expect that at some point in your season you're going to go 0 for 10 or you're going to go 0 for 15, and just know that that's part of being a baseball player, being a hitter at a high level. I think it helps manage working through some of that frustration when you're in the heat of it. So a big part of it for me is to, on the front end at the beginning of the season, is to just expect the fact that you're going to go through a slump at some point, and then just kind of that'll help you work through it when you actually do get there. So so again, growth mindset will serve you well as you kind of work through that stuff. I really like this quote, and this is the last piece on mental toughness. But this is Ryan Holiday, who wrote "Ego is the enemy, stillness is the key." the obstacle is the way. I mean, he's a really good writer on philosophy and psychology, but he says what we need in life, in art and in sports, is to loosen up, to become flexible, to get to a place where there is nothing in our way, including our own obsession with certain outcomes. Mastering our mental domain, as paradoxical as it might seem, requires us to step back from the rigidity of the word mastery. We'll get the stillness we need if we focus on the individual steps, if we embrace the process and give up chasing. We'll think better if we aren't thinking so hard. It's important for students to get lost in the process. So I just really like that quote because I think I mean, we've all been there when we want success so much and we're trying so hard to be successful that we actually make it a little bit harder for us to do that. So you guys got anything on that quote or that concept?
No, I think that's a good point. I think that goes directly into, like, a lot of times as a hitter, when you're focusing on stats, you put that unnecessary extra pressure on yourself, so a lot of times you just kind of shoot your own cause in the foot when you're focusing on, batting average or, hitting a double off the wall. I mean, obviously everybody wants to do that, but if you can just simplify your approach and not focus on the outcome as much as you focus on the process, you'll get that outcome more often than not that you want. So
I really like the second to the last line of that. We'll think better if we aren't thinking so hard. A lot of guys just, we talked about it and you talked about it, simplifying things, and if we talk too much to kids in detail about their swing, then all of a sudden it becomes mechanical, and it's not feel and it's not confident. They're questioning their movement. I really like that second to the last line there.
Yeah, and you kind of gotta, kind of let go of results a little bit and just get focused on that pitch in that moment and just be on time for that pitch and look to do damage with that pitch. And so I like how it kind of compartmentalizes each pitch in each moment. So it's good.
Good stuff, Brian.
So mentality. So to me, hitting starts with mentality, and it starts with the intent to do damage. And I'll kind of skip down to the bottom here, but I think it all starts. So if you have a great mentality, then you have a chance to be on time. And if you're on time, you're going to see the ball better. And if you see the ball better, okay, you're going to have better zone control and make better swing decisions. And if you make better swing decisions, you're going to hit the ball harder and you're going to get on base more. If you get on base more, you're going to score more runs. And if you score more runs, you're going to win more games. Okay. But it all kind of goes back to mentality and timing. Okay. So if you want to win more games, then you got to have the right mentality and you got to be on time. So to me, hitting starts with mentality and the intent to do damage. We want all of our guys up there looking to drive the baseball and hit a ball in the gap, whether they're 145 pounds or 245 pounds. Our guys are up there looking to do damage. So again, you can't be passive. I kind of, I got a 9-year-old. You guys saw him a little bit earlier, and my son Ben, on his little league team, he's got a really natural swing, my son. And on his little league team last year, some of the coaches were they would like get down on the kids when they would swing at balls, and it kind of got me thinking, like, because I noticed my son all of a sudden now he would wait to see the ball out of hand before he would make his move. And if you wait to see the ball out of a pitcher's hand before you make your move, you're late, right? So I think the more as coaches that we can empower our players to like be a little out of control. It's okay to swing and miss. Okay. If you're going up there with a punch and Judy, really super compact, slow bat swing, you're not going to have very much success. But if you go up there with the intent to do damage and with the intent to hit to and through the ball, okay, you're gonna have a chance to be successful. And certainly you're going to have a chance to be on time. So, you can look at this right here with Yelich here, I like this video. You can see, like, you can't really tell between the one on top and the one on bottom which one is a swing. Obviously, the one on bottom is a take, but the first part of that you can't really tell. And then, so I mean, he's proactive with his move. He's looking to do damage, and then he's deciding if it's a ball. So it's a yes, 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 no, yes, 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 yes mentality, or a yes, 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 no mentality. It's not a I don't know, yes, or I don't know, no. It is your pitch every pitch, and you're making a move as if it's going to be your pitch, and then you're going to decide, in kind of in motion there. So, I know, Joe, you had Donegal Fergus on your podcast the other day. Really good hitting guy. He's the hitting coordinator with the Twins, and this barrel or ball idea, I got this from him. I stole it from him. He talks about it all the time, the idea of barrel or ball. And from a hitting standpoint, you should, if it's a ball that you can barrel, okay, then you're going to get your swing off. If it's not a ball that you can barrel, then in your mind it's a ball. Whether it's a strike or not, it's a ball in your mind. So, I think what he's trying to get at there is that you're not trying to differentiate the strike zone. Like, just because it's in the strike zone doesn't mean it's a good pitch to hit. It might be out of the strike zone and a great pitch for you to drive. So. I just like that idea of barrel of ball, and it's definitely something that we use at Pacific. So, you guys got anything to add on that mentality, though, that mentality piece?
No.
That covers it.
Okay. So like I said, the do damage mentality leads to better timing. It's a dance. It's a rhythm. Like you're trying to, and this is another Augie Garrido thing, but he talks about the pitcher is trying to kick your ass, right? He's trying to blow that ball by you, and it's a race, and you got to beat him to that spot. And if you don't beat him to that spot, then you're going to be defeated. So he just talks about it being a race, and you got to win the race, and you got to be on time. So rhythm and kind of having a little bit of rhythm with the pitcher is super important. So we talk about that a lot at Pacific. Look for what you're going to get, not what you want to hit. That's a big Steve Springer thing. I really like that. Just look for what you think you're going to get on that pitch. And then it's not always going to be a fastball, though. You might have to hunt elevated off-speed pitch. You might have to hunt a fastball away. Not necessarily a fastball in. So, and with that, I think it's more important to be 100% committed to what you're looking for than it is to be right about, what you're looking for when it comes to hunting pitches. So it's super important to just be committed to what you're hunting. So I don't know how you guys feel about sitting on pitches, or if you're more location based, but what do you guys got on that?
We talked a little bit about this last week about and when we had like the pitcher's perspective and the catcher's perspective on what they generally like to call. And so for simplistic purposes for the kids that are participating in this, because they're a little bit younger, we just want to keep it as simple as we possibly can. We just have them, at least within our program, we want them to start being comfortable, looking for more pitches away, and being able to learn how to react in, if it's ever if it's ever called for. But I mean, generally, my experience in the game, it's especially at the youth levels with guys who don't have a whole lot of command in, very rarely should our guys be looking, if ever, so middle away, obviously, anything painted on the black, you can lay off of until two strikes, but something to drive in that zone, middle away, a lot of times you can react middle in and still have success, so just trying to keep it simple on those terms.
Sure. You got anything on that, Carlos?
No, I'm okay. No, I'm good, man. You know, that's really been helpful, and you know, Donegal does a good job on, you know, with the hitters. You know, that's the reason, that's why he's where he's at. You know, and you know, totally agree with that concept, no doubt.
Right on. So, you know, obviously we have a great mentality and to you know, get us on time and to control the zone. And, you know, I think, you know, a good take is a late shutdown. So, and that's something that needs to be kind of practiced in you know, in practice. So you're swinging and then you're shutting it down. So you're deciding not to swing. You're not, I don't know. Okay, yeah, I'm swinging. You're going and then you're shutting it down if it's not your pitch. So I think the best hitters are the best at swinging at their pitch. So with that being said, they're also really good at shutting their swing down when it's not something that they're looking for. So the biggest thing is for us is we hit off of machines a lot in BP, right? A lot of high velocity BP. And it's really easy to get into a swing mode when you're hitting off a machine because, you know, the machines have just enough command to where you can literally swing at everything and probably touch the ball every single time. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's a pitch that you should be swinging at and it's a pitch that you can drive. So we really hold our hitters accountable in practice to, if it's not a pitch that's over their, you know, hot zone, they need to shut their swing down. And, so we do some things, some constraint-based things to kind of bring that out with our hitters. But we want to, you know, one of the key aspects of development is that we want to do decision training within a complex, adaptable environment. So, so we obviously, you know, facing velo, facing, you know, double hack where you're facing a fastball and, you know, a good slider off of that. You know, you need to decide on if it's a pitch that you can swing at. So, so we use, we shrink the plate. We'll use, you know, the plate's 17 inches. So we'll use like 11-inch plates. I think this one's an 8-inch plate. So we'll use different size plates for our hitters to kind of shrink their zone and hold them to a little higher standard in practice when, you know, we just don't want our guys just mindless BP just in swing mode when they're not forced to make a decision on if they're going to swing or not. So we want them making that decision all the time as much as possible so that when they get into a game, they're, you know, they're using that skill that they've developed. So I just think that decision making is a skill that needs to be trained. So, and I also think it's a decision that the hitter individually needs to make to hold himself accountable in practice. If you don't decide that this is an important aspect of development, then you're just going to go and just hit mindless BP and just, you know, you get around to 8, you're swinging at all 8, whether they're good pitches to hit or not. That's not making you any better, you know? So, you know, we try to do a lot of mixed BP, throwing, you know, double hack, throwing, you know, a velo machine at our guys and just making it pretty difficult. So, coaches, anything on that?
Good point on that.
I think you're right. I mean, just going up and taking your 8 hacks, it's like you're not really, there's no purpose in that, you know, it's kind of a waste. That's what I've seen. So we've kind of switched our batting practice to, you know, challenge our hitters. And I feel like we've gotten a lot more out of it, which has been really good.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll try and explain it fast, but we do a similar one. We've got a 7-ball plate, and I think 5 of the balls are on it, and then 2 of the balls are cut in half to give us the 17 inches that you're talking about. And what we started doing with our dead arm, you know, just regular BP is you're sitting in a couple 2-ball zone, whatever that might be for that BP, if you swing out of that zone, rounds over as your consequence. But if you take pitch that's strike in a different zone, we just expect an active take, what you're talking about, a late discipline shutdown. And so if we see that active take, we understand that you're preparing yourself to hit. And so I think for guys that have the opportunity, ability to go out and have their parents throw to them right now or get into a cage somehow, being disciplined to sides of the plate, whatever it might be, a pitch, being able to take the other one, like you said, not being right, but being committed to it. That's where you're going to start to find that success, and just being able to train for that's difficult, but challenging yourself with different things that, each of us have been able to give, I think are good opportunities for you right now.
Awesome. Okay.
I think I mentioned one of the last podcasts about setting up the tee, inside tee in, front toss. I'm sorry, front toss in, tee away. And kind of cover both sides of the plate. If they're at home, they can actually set that up, and make sure you work, both sides of the plate, and teach yourself how to go, stay in the middle of the cage, and it's really, really effective. At least for us, it is, so.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Good stuff. You gotta watch this here. Good take. 4, baby. All right. These are some things that we chart, that we track at Pacific. So we track aggression, so in zone swing percentage. So we measure how often you swing when the pitch is in your damage zone or the strike zone with 2 strikes. Whoops. We look at, that's misspelled, but zone control. In zone swing decisions plus good takes divided by total pitches. So it gives you an idea of which guys on your team are making good decisions up there. Bat to ball, so that's contact percentage when swinging, so measures barrel accuracy. And then we look at eye, so out of zone take percentage, and it measures how often you lay off a pitch when it's outside your damage zone or the strike zone with 2 strikes. So these are some things that you can track. We'll have a hitter hitting, we'll have a guy on deck, and we'll have the guy who's in the hole just basically have a spreadsheet, and he'll be tracking whether or not the hitter's making good swing decisions. And then we'll total that stuff up and post it every week, so our guys have something to kind of hold them accountable to it. Seems to work pretty well with our guys. So then you can do anything. You can do like just the strike zone as it is. If it's a strike and they swing at it, good. If it's a strike and they don't swing at it, bad. It could be really simple stuff. But these are the metrics that we use and we track with our hitters. So, coaches, anything?
No.
It's awesome.
Okay. We'll get to it pretty soon. So.
And then so that's all I had for this first session here. Just kind of recap. We talked about expectations, culture, development stuff, mentality, timing, zone control. And then next Thursday, I want to talk about more of a constraint-led approach. So, but I guess now would be a great time to open it up for questions or.
Yeah, I'm gonna unmute these guys, and then if anybody's got anything, parents or players, now's the time to ask. Let's see here.
We'll get into the mechanics of the swing. I think that's the 3rd session. The next session is really interesting to me, and it's just basically like ways that you can tweak the environment to bring out development in your hitters. So
yeah, so if guys want to unmute themselves, I think they got to unmute themselves on their end too, right? Not too.
Yeah, I think so.
I have no idea. But if anybody has anything, coaches or parents or players, that are in here, just kind of to take something home where you can either, work on something or just to focus on it. Now would be the time.
I think we got some coaches over here as well.
We do. Big Tony's in here somewhere.
Tony.
He's there, but he's muted there.
I think everybody's muted. I don't know how to. Let me see. Unmute.
Go to
Coach
the
Billy, great job today.
go
Who's
to
that?
the participants, and you can unmute them there. I think.
Go to participants. I've done that. The attendees, and I put allow to talk. And then let me see here. Meeting, unmute all. Oh, maybe that works. Oh, like somebody flushed the toilet.
What's up, Tony?
Hey, Coach, how are you?
Good, brother. How are you?
Great presentation. Very impressive.
Oh, thanks. Congrats on your son graduating, man.
At a drive-through.
I appreciate that. It was a special graduation under the circumstance, so it was great.
Awesome.
Oh. Like a robot.
Who's that?
Oh, all right. Well, for the players, the hitters, just to kind of keep things simple here, there's obviously a lot that you can cover and you can learn about with hitting, but to keep it simple, take it home. Just really want to think about being aggressive in the box, something that we talked about earlier in the presentation, but also to what goes into that, your mentality of yes, yes, no, swinging at pitches that that you should expect are coming, as opposed to swinging at what you want to swing at, which a lot of times hitters, as hitters, you want to swing at something in the park, but that's often not the pitch you're going to be getting. So you got to kind of, take what you're given, so to speak. So if you have a pitcher who's, soft away, you gotta look soft away. If you have a pitcher that does attack in a lot, then you can change your mentality there. You just gotta kind of go with what you're given.
You got a lot of residual background noise here.
Carlos's gecko.
Shut that thing up. Okay. Coaches, you guys have anything before we sign off here?
I think this is all good, really great stuff, man. Thank you very, very much.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah, thank
we
you.
will be for the guys, the players, and the parents, I guess, on here too. We will begin hosting Zoom sports performance training where you guys can do stuff at home. The first workshop we have is 4 p.m. on Tuesday Pacific time, not Pacific University, but Pacific time. And that will be Tuesday again. There will be reminders sent out to you guys, especially since, it looks like baseball is going to start opening up within the next month or so. I want guys to show up as, as good in shape as they possibly can. We'll so there's really no excuse not to be able to take advantage of these things while they're being provided. So, okay, guys. For the parents, thanks for tuning in as well. Try to be as encouraging as you can with your kids if they're hitting or they're struggling, because hitting's not the easiest aspect of the game. So it's something that needs to be, if we could learn how to be positive with, especially dads that are a little bit tougher on their kids, learn to be positive in the way we reinforce, our players. So that's pretty much it for today. We'll come back on the second part of this workshop, or the second workshop of this series next Thursday, right around the same time. Billings, is that good? 5 o'clock?
Yeah, works for me.
Pacific. So that's obviously for guys in different regions. Glad to have all the college guys in here. Glad to have Tim in here. He's the only one that's allowed to go sit on a stool at his field. Everybody else, we're all stuck in our houses. So.
I need a rake.
I will say for everybody on here though, just because we did start that podcast that's been we're on almost an episode a day. We'd love for you guys to listen in. It's called Locked In. just having locked in baseball or locked in Joe Spears and go in there and listen in. There's a lot of good information with, you know, guys from all walks in the game. We had Coach Erich on there once. We had Billings that did the presentation today. He'll be his episode will be published in the next couple of days. But a lot of really good information from the recruiting side to the professional side to the development side. Just if you guys can go in there as well and leave an honest review. I need the feedback because I'm trying to improve at it as well. You know, if you give me a 1-star rating, then you know, go screw yourself. But
GVG.
no, just kidding. But seriously, if you guys, you know, players, parents, you know, take advantage of that because a lot of the guys, the guests, they just want to give back to the game and they're doing the best they can with that. And you know, I really feel like there's a lot to benefit from. You take the time to listen in. So, all right. But everybody, I really appreciate you, coaches. Appreciate you, Tim, Tony, JB. I see you. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks,
All right.
Joe.
You guys take care.
Thanks, brother.